Okay, so now that our background mountain is dry, we can go ahead and do the darker mountain in the foreground. It doesn't have to be totally black, but I prefer it that way. So I'm just going to use straight black. If you want to mix a little bit of white or a little bit of red in with it, that's totally fine too. So the other thing about the tree, or the foreground mountain, is that you want it to, I didn't fill in my background mountain completely, so you don't have to, because you just have to make sure that then your mountain in the foreground covers up the parts that you didn't fill in. So I'm going to go into my black, and I'm still using my medium-sized brush. I'm not going to use the little one until I get to the tree. So I'm going to start my foreground mountain right here. It's going to have a slightly different shape than my background mountain, just because that makes it a little bit more interesting. Just using the brush, flat, flat. Just going to go along here like this. It's going to have a bit of a drop there. And they don't have to be mountains. You could do hills, any kind of landmass, or if you don't want to do a landmass, that's okay too. Just do what you're feeling. I'm just going to make sure I do my edge here. And now we just fill it in. And you're probably still going to be able to see some brush strokes in this, even if you're using straight black. So I like to vary the direction of the brush strokes, just so it makes it a little bit more interesting, gives it a little bit more texture. It's a testament to this tree that it's growing on this rocky environment. And when we get to the tree, you can start thinking about that. And if you don't want to do this kind of tree, you can do any kind of tree. You can do an evergreen. You can do a willow. You could do any kind of tree that you like. You could even do something that's not a tree. You could do a person, you could do a bush, you could do anything that you think should be at the top of this mountain. That is your call. It's your painting. You're going to take it home. Maybe you're going to keep it. Maybe you're going to give it to somebody. I love giving paintings to people. It's such a personal present. And people generally really appreciate getting very personal presents that you made with your own hands. And hopefully you'll leave here with some better understanding of certain things, blending, how to not blend. You usually have to wait for the paint to dry. Okay, now there are a couple of things we can do at this point. We can go ahead and start the tree. The other thing we can do at this point, so we don't have to worry about getting our stars on top of the birds, is we can do the stars right now. So what you have to do, well, there's a couple of ways you can do it. I do have some toothpicks. You can get a toothpick, you can put it in the white, and you can dot all your stars. That can be exhausting. The other way to do it, if you're not too particular about where your stars end up exactly, you can take one of your brushes. I'm going to use my medium-sized brush. You need a fair amount of water. You want it to be really watery so that if you flick your paintbrush like that, you get specks of white off it. So do it a couple times in your palette so that you get the globs, the big globs. We don't want stars that are big globs. Now this is dry, so if you do accidentally get a star that looks more like a planet and you don't want it, you just take your paper towel, tiny bit of water, and dab it off, okay? Don't leave it too long so it'll be harder to get off. All right, so try not to flick your stars on your neighbor or the person across the table from you. I like to hold mine upside down, probably a good 6 inches away from the canvas, and give it a flick. Now, I got some big ones, but that's okay. I don't mind. I didn't dab mine enough. Okay, there we go. Now I'm getting some nice little ones. Okay, so I have one here that's running. I don't want that, so I'm just going to dab it off. And another one there that's running. So you got to be careful to try and get, you don't want too much on your brush, so make sure you give them a good couple of flicks over your palette. There, that's better. Okay, I'm going to do a few more. There we go. And I'm happy with my stars. So now I'm going to carry on, and if you ended up with too many stars down on your lower part of your painting and you don't want them there, just take your big brush, make it a little bit damp, and they'll just come right out. Don't brush it too hard or for too long because you'll take away your color. I'm just going to smush these around a little bit. There. Now I mostly have them up here where I want them. There we go. Okay. So you can think about that, work on that. So you can see I got a few more on this one than that one, but that's okay because I have more black on this one than I have on that one. So the next thing I'm going to do is my tree. And I know some of you are a little bit scared of the tree. Don't be scared of the tree. It's not going to hurt you. And however yours comes out, you're going to love it because it's your tree. So you can start your tree from anywhere on your rock, on your mountain. I'm going to start mine right here. So all I'm doing is taking my little brush and I'm putting it on its edge and I'm going up, 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 and I'm taking the pressure off the brush as I go up. So at the bottom I have a nice thick line, and at the top it gets thinner. So that's going to be one of my branches. It's going to go that way. Now let me get some more paint. You make sure you have enough paint on your brush so you don't have to go back over it. So we're just doing the outline right now. So then my other branch is going to come out this way. And trees, well, trees aren't perfectly shaped, so if your tree's a little bit bumpy, it's a little bit misshapen, that's actually pretty cool. My favorite trees are apple trees because they're so interesting looking. I especially like them in the winter time. So now I'm just going to make this branch thicker. I'm going to make this branch thicker, and now I'm going to add some more branches. Fill this in, and I can get a good sense of the shape of my tree. So just be careful when you're filling in that you don't, use your brush on its edge. That way it's a bit smaller. You're not going to make your lines too wide. And then you can put more branches in wherever you feel like they should go. Try not to take up too much of your sky with the branches because you won't have room for the birds. If you want to do the birds, you don't have to do the birds. Maybe they're bats. Maybe they're not there at all. Maybe they've already migrated. Okay, maybe it's winter. You don't have to put leaves on your tree either if you don't feel like it. It could be winter. Okay, tree. So I'll give you some time to work on your tree. I'm just going to add in a few more branches. If anybody wants any help with their branches. The key to doing the tiny branches is putting very little pressure on your brush. There. Okay, so now I'm going to start doing my leaves. And all I'm going to do is get a lot of paint on my little brush. And I'm just going to start dabbing it near the branches, making me some heavy leaves. Not a lot, just some. Because then I'm going to use the paint from some of my heavy leaves to just go crazy and make lots of leaves. And you don't have to worry about them all looking the same, because they're all facing different ways. So now I'm just doing a happy little tree here. Mr. Bob Ross. Those happy little leaves. Happy little tree. I'm going to put some in here. Some in here. So this tree's not going to look like my other tree. Every tree can be different, and if you want to add in more branches, you can add in more branches. That's the great thing about doing a tree that's all one color. And then you don't have to go back and forth with the colors. It's all just shadow. All just shadow. So, there we go. Okay, finished my tree. So, I'm happy with that. The next part is going to be the birds.